And what we're going to do is we're going to go over step by step these, and we're going to write some kind of stimuli that's actually going to get you some clients. So first of all, we need a niche, right? And as I know already, you're really interested in YouTube, people who are YouTube consultants, creators, coaches, and basically those types of people who have some kind of high ticket offer, because those people actually have the money to do some good shit with you. So we have to define the offer specifically, who would that be, and how can we basically see a gap that these people have and bridge that gap with our offer. So that's why we have to start with a niche. So I think we can go with, or what do you say, around specifically people who sell something high ticket. Is that what we will be looking at the moment?
Yeah, makes sense. I'd say so, yeah.
So if we say that people who sell high ticket. Now, I don't like to specify it more like, coaches, creators, consultants, because who cares what they name themselves? If they have a high ticket program, most likely means that they have some kind of problems we can actually solve for them. So we need to somehow define some kind of problems we can actually help them solve, so we can basically bridge it with our offer, right? And so if we really need to think about some problems, I would say that because we have already an understanding about what kind of offer we want to run, which would be actually selling, meaning like funnels and these sorts of shit, we can talk about basically client acquisition, and client acquisition for them could be a problem. Now, client acquisition comes down to two main things, which is traffic and actually like the conversion of that. And so specifically, what I think is for you, the conversion is the most important, because if you don't want to run like more like a content agency type of shit, then you don't need actually the traffic part. So we can focus on the problem which people have, which is the conversion. And the conversion problem is something they actually suffer with, but I don't know how much they know about, if that makes sense. So that's why we need to think about it in a form where how can we bridge this problem which they are somewhat aware of, that actually they are going to take action on it, if that makes sense. So now that we have a basic understanding of a problem which they actually suffer with, we need to come up with, or we need to somewhat understand our niche, right? Because if we don't understand our niche, it's going to be very, very hard for us to actually create stimuli for them which would get them to act with us. So what would be some latent conditions? Latent conditions meaning that the psychological pre-programming of a person, if someone wouldn't understand. Well, latent conditions, I think could be, well, we could talk about it for hours, I think. Like, we could talk about it for hours, but let's just specify one or two things, which is mainly their huge goals and the biggest pains they have at the moment. And pains is not a problem, pain is the consequence of the problem. So goals, like they want to scale. Now, how much, that's dependent on person to person. Some want to scale to 10K, some want to scale to 20K, some want to scale to 30K, some want to scale higher and higher and higher. Now, personally, as a starter somewhat, I wouldn't focus on people who have high ticket offers who want to scale above 50 or 100, because then it's like you start to need to have a team. You can do 30K per month consistently without having a team by selling high ticket, but that's something which is, that's why that 30K to scale into 30K from, let's say, 10K is a very good target audience or target niche, because these people already have some money to invest back, which is they are making 10K a month usually, but they don't know how to get to that 30K. And that's not a team issue, that's actually just a system issue. That's why you can help them solve their problems. And so they want to scale, and like other things which they really want, for example, is traveling or more freedom or whatever. Like, these are the ideas. And some pains these people have is, for example, inconsistency. They are relying on, did I write it right?
I think you mean inconsistency.
Sorry, yes, English. So they're relying on one client acquisition system.
Mm-hmm.
If the traffic just drops down, they don't have clients. they feel the pain of inconsistency because of lacking systems. And something else, which is they are somewhat afraid, I would say so, about they are somewhat afraid of what if it changes, like the current system which they have, and they're never going to be able to build it up again, if that makes sense. So afraid of change because they have done it once, but if it would drop, that would hurt their ego, like if they would drop from 10k to 1 to 2k per month, and again scaling it back, like that would be very, very so to speak, a negative experience for them because of their ego and basically the expectation they set on themselves. So these are some ideas about the latent conditions. Now we understand about the niche. It's actually time to create an offer for them. So people, I think a lot of people just overcomplicate offers. I have a very simple way of doing this, which is I start with a value proposition. What I found for myself is when I'm trying to like this come up with the perfect offer, I always fail at it. That's why I firstly want to understand what is my value proposition and then create the best offer statement that will make these people actually convert with my offer. Yeah, it will make them convert. So the value proposition is basically I help, X with then, something like that. Right now, I understand that we are doing, funnels and backend systems with funnels. So I would say something on the lines of I help high ticket program sellers get more clients / increase their income by, what exactly are we talking about? By, let's say, building a new funnel, optimizing their current systems, and whatever, like maybe hiring some, I don't know, like setters or whatever, or building a very small lean team. Something like that. But now we understand what are we going to do. Like this is our value proposition. Of course, this is not something that they would convert on, but this is something that gets them interested enough to actually, or for us, this is really the starting point to create an offer statement which would actually get them to buy. And so that's why when we have this, the next thing we do is basically understand how can we create a result, a timeline, a new mechanism, to actually get them to convert, and what kind of stimuli that would be, which would make them the most wanna convert on our offer. And so basically from here, what we do is we type out the result, we type out the time frame, and the actual mechanism we use to get these outcomes right. And so the question becomes is what kind of results are we able to promise them and deliver, and still it's a result that they would actually want, and not just want like everyone wants more money, but it's the actual result that they would just hop on if it would be in front of them. That's how I like to think about it, is if you would say the result you're going to promise and nothing else, if they feel like, okay, I need it, that's a good result you're trying to promise. If they don't feel like that, then if they don't feel like that, then it's not going to be a good offer that you're creating. So for this specifically, if we understand what are the pains and the goals of these people, we can start to think about how could we actually create the result which would make them wanna buy. And I think if we specifically use the people who are making around 10K and they want to scale to 30K, we could talk about the result as the 30K per month. That's where we would end up with when working with us. And something to differentiate our offer, meaning, hey, we are not going to, let's say, bid a huge team that you need to pay like 50% of your profit to. Like, it's something that they want actually, like 30K with, I don't know, 90% profit range. If that stimuli potentially is going to get someone to be like, I want this shit. Because who wouldn't want to work with someone, scale to 30K per month as the result with 90% profit range, something like that. So we can think about as the result being scaling or helping to scale to 30K per month, let's say without a team, or helping to scale to 30K per month. What else can we say? Like with 90% profit margins. Like this is something that people, I think, would definitely want in this niche. And so now we can actually talk about the time frame on how and how much time it would require to actually do that. And so this is something to really understand, is that the result is not something your time frame has to guarantee, but like the specific problem you're trying to bridge, how much time does it take you to actually bridge that problem. So the time frame doesn't go for the results promised, but rather how much time does it take for you to actually bridge the problem you're trying to bridge, leading to the actual result later down the line. Now, of course, if you're selling something around client acquisition, of course, like you should be able to get them to do that. But like, because there is a bunch of moving pieces, it's not that, let's say, you have to help them scale to 30K per month in the next 12 weeks, but rather you help them solve this problem, and this will later down the line scale them to that 30K per month. And so that's how you need to think about it. And of course, the guarantee and these sorts of things is going to help as well, but that has to be done in a different manner. Like we only offer a guarantee if we know we can do that without a question, right? So time frame, I think the like very usual, I don't know, 12 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever, like I don't know, 3 months, however we're gonna frame it. It's like, it's very like industry standard, and I think it's also a really good point to start it, because yes, you could offer a time frame which is, I'm going to help you scale to 30K per month in the next, I don't know, 27 days. Like who would actually, you know, believe that? Like that's again a question of how much the offer is going to convert. So time frame would be something like that. And the next thing is going to be our mechanism, which is what are we exactly going to do to get someone there, and not in a form of what you have to do step by step to fulfill your offer, but rather how can we explain to the people who are watching or listening to our offer, how can we do it for them. And so for example, when we are doing this, we can talk about a simple mechanism which would be, I don't know, let's map it out firstly. First thing would be something along the lines of let's say that at the moment we specialize in just one very specific type of funnel building. And so then what we could do is we explain as the mechanism that this is what we are going to do and how we are going to do that. And so let's think in this way, where we usually have 3 steps, right? And the first step would be, let's say we are going to build out for them a free training type of funnel and the book are called Funnel Together on YouTube, where they have a free training and they have a book called Funnel at the same time. And so you can say that the first thing that we do is we actually, for example, is write the VSL. Now this doesn't sound cool, but we can make it later sound cool. And so you can explain how the only reason they're not converting that much, I have those many 30K per month is because they don't have a good VSL which converts that well. And the next thing would be is building a client acquisition dam. Is it dam? I have to search. Not dam like this, but like the shit which holds up the water. What is that? Dam? Yeah. Dam. Because if you, let's say, explain this, like you need to build a client acquisition dam for a person, it's like, what the fuck you mean by that? And then you can explain like, hey, the reason you don't have that 30K per month is because you cannot get clients on demand, because you haven't built up that, so to speak, dam in this metaphor. And so that's why you could explain, like, the first thing is you write the VSL, so we start converting at the highest percentage possible. Second is we implement a client acquisition dam, which is going to build basically a pipeline of clients which you can pull on any given time where you need clients. And the third thing is, for example, you want to have just specific with conversions, is we will make you a sales B salesperson. So you could say to the person that we are going to transition you into a B salesperson, or help you build a sales team, whatever they want, right? But still, like this structure, it's really easy to understand from the client's perspective, and also how you can talk about them, you can build authority with it. And that's the goal, where clients understand what you want to talk about, why you're building authority, that you know what you actually are talking about. It's not that you're going to do X, Y, and Z and doesn't make sense, and how you're explaining it shows that you don't even know what you're talking about. That's the goal for us here. And so this would be sort of the offer. We could actually cook up a very good stimuli chain here, which would get us booked calls. And that's why those are some things which I don't like that people do, and you shouldn't do it as well, where you're doing so much time building your offer, thinking about the niche, and you don't test it. So the only thing remains is that you have an idea of what to do. You need to come up with the actual stimuli chain and just implement it there. And from there, you can see if it's working or not working. Because you can think forever on a perfect offer, but until you don't have like the market research, you don't have the market the market understanding of the market, is just not going to help you actually scale. So let's talk about the stimuli chain here, and how you need to create a stimuli chain is always thinking about this, which is every single stimuli I write, what's the goal of that stimuli, and how can I make that stimuli achieve its goal on the highest percentage possible. And so we are writing email copy, the first thing we have to write is a subject line. And so what we need to think about is how can we write a subject line which fulfills its goal on the highest level. And so for us, what a subject line has to do as its goal is to get a click. That's the only goal, right? Now, of course, we cannot forget pre-framing people. Like, you cannot write something too crazy to get someone to click, because they're not going to actually buy if you just pre-frame them incorrectly. So our goal is to simply come up with a subject line which gets a click, and we need to build curiosity, right? That's the question. Now, usually what I like to do is talk about like some free value I'm here to give these people. And because I'm here to give some free value, I can create my subject line in a way where I promise them a free value if they click on the email, which leads to a very high click-through rate, open rate, sorry. Like, for example, at the moment I have a 64% open rate, so it's kind of working. So specifically here, what I'm thinking about is something like this. For example, the question is, how funny do you actually want to go? Because I am a type of person who likes to, joke around with stuff. And so in my stimuli, I like to implement that as my personality. And so, for example, what I have written once is like, I didn't use it, but I have written out for me to actually test later, is I dug this up from my backyard for you. So like, this is just makes you curious, no? Like, you wanna know what's inside this. And so, if you wanna go like so crazy and like, you know, make jokes, it can work. Of course, it's dependent on person to person and shit. But this is my goal, which is I promise some kind of free thing here. Like, hey, I dug this up from my backyard for you. It's like, what is this? What could that be? Or like another was, I found this on my porch this morning. Or something else could be like, what could we write here? Like, I think for test, all of this could work really well, but like still we want to maximize our potential. And the reason we don't want to use something on the lines of, I spent 3 hours creating this for you, is because here you just want to sell them. Like, hey, I invested time, just check it out. Like, no one's going to actually care if you invested time or not. Like, I don't care. What you have to do is just get them curious enough to actually click on that. And so, I don't know, you could write, I drank 4.3 Red Bulls while doing this for you. So like, this just gets you curious, like, what the fuck, 4.3 Red Bulls, what is this? I have to click on this. And so, yeah, of course it depends on person to person, like, because this is filled with my personality shit. And so for you, like, if you want to go with a very general one, we could write something like, this is overused, but you might get my point, made this for you, right? It's not using any kind of, you know, unique personality shit. It's like curiosity inducing, and that's all. Or something like Cheers name, like,
Yeah.
I think that's also good work. I haven't tested this, but yeah, this is my point. Like, we need to just get them to click. That's all we want to do. And I think these are perfect. And I think you don't really drink Red Bulls, but I think this could be really good. I actually like this shit.
It's ripped.
Next thing is going to be the email body copy, right? So the goal for the email body copy is to, I'm not going to say our goal is to sell them, but our goal is to get them somewhat interested, plus to click the Loom. That's our goal with our email body copy. And so what we need to do is write a very simple email body copy for us here. Now, let's do that shit. So I would start with something dependent on what kind of personality you are, either with a hey name or something like yo. That's what I do. So, and it works really well, of course. Or because you're German, you can use a German word, like, doesn't matter, like, I don't know, willkommen. And so the next line, basically what we want to do is break down their ego, because people know that they have the leverage above you because they are seeing your email in their inbox. They have the leverage above you, and this builds up ego. So what we need to do is just shatter the ego these people have, and after we have shattered the ego, we can start pitching them and start converting them. And now how can we shatter the ego is absolutely simple. Basically what you do is give them a compliment which feels good for them. And the thing is that a compliment that feels good for them is not a compliment they have seen 1,000 times before. So you cannot write the usual, the value you provide in your videos is amazing. If you would write this, they would just leave, just fucking leave. Like, they're not going to actually read this anymore. But this is where we use what I call the unique praise, where you build the second line with a unique way of praising them, which will build down their ego, and they will want to read your email. And so what that would be, let's say we use this. Question becomes, can we say this, which is the value they provide in their videos, in a more unique way by still praising them? And I have a better idea for that. So for example, we could say that, hey name, we could say something on the lines of, and here we are going to use our AI personalization that you know about. Your last video, oh no, I don't want to start with this, but let's do this where either we can, I want to have a flow to the copy. So it's like, I don't want to be like, hey name, your last video, da da da. It doesn't feel human enough. I want to be like, hey name, and use something which is transparently, not gonna lie, to be honest. That gets them into a flow, because that word is just increases the flow of the script. It doesn't do anything, like there is no point to using that. It's like just increases the flow of the script. And so we could go with something like, not gonna lie, and comma. We can go with the line of, the value per minute in your last video named something, your video named something like blank. Not gonna lie, the value per minute in your last video named something like blank. And here we have to say something which is the praise. And we could say here exceptionally high, just for example. My point being is that they have never heard this value per minute. It's like a unique way of praising them. It's not that the value you provide is just good, but like value per minute. It's like the amount of value you actually provide per minute in your video is like exceptionally high. That is a unique way of saying to them that they are doing something very well. And so we could use this. Now, of course, it's not yet finished, and that's why we need to rewrite this shit multiple times. But for this moment, I would leave it like this, and I would go to the next line, which would be either we can praise more than here, or we can transition slowly into our actual offer. And here, I don't like to go after one line into an offer, because it's like a too big of a shift. Like, hey, I just said something cool about you, this is my shit. But rather have a good flow, which is like, your shit is cool, and because it's so cool, I have my offer. And that's how I like to build these sorts of things. So here we could go inside, and we could go and talk about, not gonna lie, the value per minute in your last video named something like blank is exceptionally high. Or we could even just say a number like, I don't know, 22.3, like the value per minute. It like doesn't mean shit, but like people going to be interested about what you have to say. And so the next thing could be, to be honest, or don't shorten it, or transparently. I actually transparently, I love the branding, let's say, of your channel, and that's why I wanted to quickly reach out. And this is just an idea for flowing from the praise to the actual offer. I wouldn't say it's good in any shape or form, but we need to have an idea to make it perfect. And here we could talk about something on the line. Let me just write it out, because I wholeheartedly believe I can help you scale to 30K in rev per month in rev without, or in rev with, in the next, in just, I don't know, 12 weeks. And like simple offer statement, nothing crazy. We just want to show them why we are here. And here, if we would have a guarantee, we would play with the guarantee. And after that, we wanna go and transition into a loom where we can actually sell people on this specific offer. And so what we'll do is either we present a free value that we have created, which we didn't, and we just fake the free value, or we actually have a very, very strong reason for them to actually click on the loom. And we could talk about a free value sheet or a huge reason to click. I think a huge reason to click would be better. Now that huge reason to click is something to think about. How could we play it? For example, for another client, how we did it is we told them that, hey, we have seen this huge research paper showing how you could make more money, and it would take us it would take us 10,000 words to explain. So that's why I created this loom to explain that, and that's a huge reason to get someone to actually click on your loom. And so we need something similar. So we have to think about it, which is, this is actually a good point. What could we say at the moment with this? We could talk about, we are trying to sell funnels. We could talk about actually how you already looked into it and there is something huge which you have seen, and you just want to implement. You want to just implement that, or you want to show them that. We could do that. We could say something like, and as I went through your funnel, I've seen 3 tiny details that I think could increase your RBR with 10%. I don't know. No, let's say with 4% because it's just too high. With 4%. But sadly we don't say, and it would take me, I could write a whole 12,300 word essay about it. So do not take your time so much. Is this a good English thing? Let's not take you so much. I don't think so. Doesn't matter, we'll make it better. I just recorded a quick video about it. We would have the loom and the rest. Now, still, there's a bunch of improvements that could be made. But point being is that we have the understanding of very unique praise, then we transition slowly into an offer. We have the guarantee and we just have to find the goodest reason to get them to click on the loom. And here we talk about case studies, and then call to action, which is basically book a call and they sign off by you. Simple as that. That's what we would do. And we are going to touch back on the email and implement, make it better as well. But right now we would have to focus on the actual loom copy. And this is very, very simple, and I don't want you to overcomplicate it, so that's why I want to focus on this now, which is yo, which is hey, whatever. Of course, what is the goal with the loom is to get them to book a call. So what you do is you start with hey, name, and basically you appreciate, you say something along the lines of, I appreciate you just checking out my video, for example, like this. And we can go and talk about here, I like to do this in the video, which is, I appreciate you checking out my video, and honestly, I actually have two reasons why I've created this. One is that I am not an AI blasting you with cold DMs. And second is that I think these little changes in your funnel could increase your appointment booking rate up to, or could increase your appointment booking rate with 4%. And I think these little changes could actually change your life, because they already know what we are talking about. We don't need to actually mention that shit again. And here we can do the next thing, which is basically saying that if you watch the video and you don't like, or you don't feel like this can change your life, you can send over your PayPal and I will get you coffee next week. And so what you do with this line is you get them to actually watch till the end. And if they watch till the end, you have much more chance to actually get them to buy. Now here, like, there is no point in writing this out at the moment, because it's this. You share your offer, like the specific best offer statement you can write together, guarantee. Then you go into a case study and you explain how to do it for them. So nothing crazy, and then you just ask them to book a call. And that's all. That's how you write the Loom copy here.